Hi and welcome again. This is a continuation of the initial router configuration. This is part 2. We have configured the enable password, the login password from the console, as well as the router name. We also added some configurations with this router. So what we're going to cover in this second part is to go and check the password. Those passwords we configured, are they actually working? So let's go to the enable mode. It asks the console password, and then we go to enable now. That asks the password. Now we see the two passwords we used, they're all working good. What we're going to do, the next thing is the interfaces. So we have two interfaces. We want to connect to the LAN and want to connect to a server, and there are two different cables. If you're connecting a client PC or a server direct to a router, for this level we're going to use a crossover cable, and then here a straight through cable. A lot of things change, so the switches, the routers now detect. You can just use one cable and it detects if it's crossover. It changes internally, but you don't have to do this classification of cables anymore. But for this labs we need to understand the difference. So if we see what interfaces are already there, you can write the command show IP interface brief, and it tells you what you have. So if you adjust the window, and then you see those two interfaces are there for you, but they are not configured. So the first one, let's choose one IP. To do that, we need to go to the configure terminal. That's the configuration terminal, and then the window changes from exec mode to, you see in the bracket it says config. Things will change here, so you need to watch that place, whatever command you run. And here we need to go to the interface we need to configure. So the first interface is fast Ethernet 0/0. You can write half of the word, or maybe unless there's similar commands that start with the same letters. When it reaches a level where it's different from the other commands, then it will accept to complete for you. Otherwise it will tell you, okay, this is not clear, continue, more letters. So now I completed the whole writing interface fast Ethernet 0/0, which is a good idea to start with. Later you get used to the shortcuts. There's so many things you can do later, but first type everything so you become familiar with all the commands. So and the interface we're in now is 0/0, and instead of only config, it also adds the interface IF. So we need to give an IP address. The command to give an IP address is this. Let's pick one IP, 192.168.1.1, and then it needs a subnet mask. So we write it this way, 255.255.0. Now we have an IP for that interface, but we don't have a cable, and it won't show anything. So the second thing to do is to enable the interface. You only added an IP, but it's not on. So to do that, we write the command no shutdown. And when you do that, the interface will be up, but there's no cable connected. So if we exit one step back and then another step back, in the exec mode, we can save the configuration. The command to do that is copy run. I use the tab key now when I start run, and then it completed the rest. And startup config, again the tab key, it completed the rest of the command, and then we save the startup configuration. If I now check show IP interface, and what you can do, because you used the command previously, just use the up arrow and it will show you the command still there. And you see we gave the IP address, the status up, but it's down. Protocol down means there's no cable connected. Sometimes if you're an engineer on site and somebody's computer is not connected or a server is down, then you go to a switch and you check show IP interface brief, and you know where the server is connected. If you see the protocol down, it's probably the cable moved, something's not working, or the cable is damaged. So you need to check. The protocol is the connectivity, physical connectivity. This is the virtual configuration we have done. So that interface is done, but the second one here, we need to connect to the server as well. So to do that, we choose configuration terminal. We can shorten it to config T, and then go to the interface fast Ethernet 0/1. The first one was 0/0, and just not to confuse, in routing switching you will see a lot of things starting from 0, so get used to counting from 0. We give an IP address 192.168. the first one was 191 .1. This time I want to use .2.1. So the third octet is the difference, 255.255.0. And I would say here also no shutdown. I'll make it short as no shut. That's now done. And if I exit again, and if I say show IP interface brief, if I do that, then you will see both of them not connected, but they are all up. And this is to save in a short way, write to memory. Don't get used to that, because you might need the other way around. Copy startup config to running config. What WR does is copy the running config to the start. So if you have a empty configuration, it will overwrite what's in your the non-volatile memory or the hard disk. So you might need to stick to the official copy run and copy start that way. This is just when you're quite familiar with what you're doing. The second thing to do now is to connect the different cabling. Here, if I connect the connections, and I know from switch to router, I can connect using fast Ethernet 00. That's what we configured, and using a straight through cable. And the second thing is this PC, I need to connect it using again fast Ethernet and connect to the fast Ethernet, the other one available from the switch. Okay, now between the router and switch, the server, we need crossover cable. The crossover from the fast Ethernet, we connect to the fast Ethernet 00. So now that cabling is fully done and it's configured. What we need to do, give some IPs to these machines and then try to reach from one device to another. This is a PC and we need to add a IP address. So if you click on the desktop and IP configuration, you can use either DHCP or physical. So subnet is connected, it's 192.168.1. Let's give it 100 and 192.168. Yeah, I made a mistake there. 192.168.1.100, and then the default default gateway is the router IP, which is that IP, and that's all good. Then if you go to the server, and the server is from 192.168.2, and we can go to a desktop, give an IP 192.168.2.100. Let's give the IP as well. And the default gateway is the router interface fast Ethernet 0/1, which is gonna be 192.168.2.1. That's what we configured. And if we now try to connect this machine to that, we can use the command to ping. And what you can do is go to the command prompt, and if you want to check its IP, you can say an IP config, and that tells you here's my IP, here's my default gateway. And if you do /all, and then it does more detailed information, it gives you more detail. So if we try to ping from the PC all the way to the server, we're going through the same router, even though they are different networks, so we can have that connectivity. Okay, and this is what's happening in here. So we ping the server IP and it reaches the destination. So this is just a basic connectivity of a router, a switch, a PC, and a server. The previous one is how to choose the different cabling, how to choose icons from the system here. If you click on one, it tells you what you want to have as options. So you might not see in the recording, I captured that only, but at the bottom it has router, a switch, firewall, some devices, end devices will have servers, laptops, things like that. So whenever you select one, for example the router, and then the switch, and then you have firewalls, some of them are here, it gives you those options. So hopefully with the configurations of IP routing, switching, you will learn a lot. Thank you for your time.